This podcast is brought to you by the School of Advanced Study, University of London. All of our podcasts are available from our website, www.sas.ac.uk.
So our group was led by Sophie, and Sophie had chosen a letter from a mother to a daughter. So the background, kind of very briefly, is we have a mother and daughter who are both writers, both called Margarita. The mother is Margarita Lymperaki, and the daughter is Margarita Karapanu. Am I right? So their relationship is quite a troubled one, or a very troubled one. So Lymperaki was an important figure in raising the profile of women's writing and female subjectivities in Greek literature. And Karapanu was also a very successful writer, perhaps more so than her mother, I think Sophie was suggesting. So I think it was an interesting choice for that reason. Firstly, kind of touching on what Julie was just talking about, is the question of role models. Because actually here we have a relationship where we were talking about the question of role models in our group, because in this case it seems like there's a role model relationship that's gone actually quite horribly wrong. So the daughter has a very troubled life, but the mother herself seems to try and separate her experiences as a mother and her relationship with her daughter from her experience and identity as a writer. So actually the mother doesn't draw on her experience as a motherhood in her writing, whereas the daughter's, is it her most famous novel, was it her first novel, is primarily drawing on the experience of this relationship with her mother. So actually it shows how the mother and daughter kind of reconcile the mother-daughter relationship and their work as a writer in quite different ways. Because where for the mother she tries to kind of separate her identity and work as a writer with her mothering work that arguably she fails to do very successfully. Whereas the daughter, actually her identity as a daughter and her mother and the mother-daughter relationship is very much part of her, or she kind of draws that into her writing to such an extent that it's not, you know, it's just very much part of her, what she's drawing on really as a writer. So that was quite interesting. We were also talking about, it was an interesting choice because the letter begins with the mother comments on daughter's recent mental health problems and says, oh, you know, it's great to hear that you've seen a doctor. Anyway, you'll feel better now that you've seen this psychiatrist. Yeah. But then immediately in the next paragraph she goes on to talk about how everything is with her. So she goes from talking about, I'm sure now you've taken the first step, I'm so happy about it. I make great strides towards everything that occupies my mind. And she goes on to talk about you know, what she's doing. She's been to see a play, talking about her social life, and finishes the letter in quite a kind of prescriptive and critical tone, where she seems to be correcting a spelling mistake from the daughter's previous letter, and finishes by saying, shouldn't you be attending some Greek classes at the University of Athens, and then signs off. So we were immediately, kind of having had the background of this relationship, our first reactions were, you know, this letter shows what a terrible mother she is, and she's so prescriptive and so self-absorbed, isn't it awful? And then Yannicka was making the very interesting point that actually in the first session we were talking about the need to kind of question our ideas about perhaps a more traditional mothering role, and that we needed to look at different ways of reconciling mothering and work. And then our immediate response to this text was to be very, very judgmental. And we clearly had an idea of what a letter from a mother to a daughter should be like, what it should contain. So I think it was a really good choice for that reason, because it forced us to kind of critique our own initial judgments. So that was a really interesting aspect of the discussion. We talked about role models. It was also a good choice, I think, because it emphasised the importance of different kinds of professions and how there are different classes and aspects of society where there'll be different standards and expectations. So I think Claire was talking about how in the first session we talked quite a lot about experiences of guilt that mothers have when they go out to work, and that there's a sense of social censure, you know, around working mothers, whereas actually in this case it's the mother is part of a very kind of bohemian artistic world. So we were asking, and she doesn't, and apparently in her other writing as well, doesn't really express any sense of guilt about prioritising her creative work over her mothering work, and so it's quite interesting from that perspective as well, that actually there's just completely different standards and expectations around mothering in different aspects of society for different kinds of women, different kinds of professions as well. So I think, yeah, did you want to, if I missed anything?
I don't think so. I think the most important thing is that the gender issues are not they're always combined to class issues. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a double issue actually. I mean, it's not the same thing being a mother in a certain social milieu and being a mother in another. And we see it even in such a document which comes from 1968-69, where, I mean, mentalities were even stronger about what it is to be a mother, what you should do, what you shouldn't. And here we see that she's more than modern, almost excessively modern, we would say. And well, the other big issue was whether it has to be a different thing to be a mother when you are an artist and to be a mother when you are not. It seems to be a completely different issue. I mean, it is a creational type of job to be a mother, indeed, but it seems to be more creational to be an artist. And she feels very nice about that, Lymperaki. I mean, she doesn't feel guilty at all. She has abandoned her daughter. Her daughter is suffering, and she exhibits all of her success in Paris and everything, and she feels very well about it. And it could be a way to read a mother's plot as well, because why not, actually? I mean, you can devote yourself to your work and
I think I just remembered something else interesting that Janneke was saying, which is when we were kind of reflecting on our own impulse, our very kind of judgmental response. Janneke was saying it's important to bear in mind a kind of culture of mother blaming, and especially around mental health. So the daughter suffers from bipolar disorder, you know, but actually to kind of link that too much perhaps to a relationship with the mother is very problematic, because, you know, obviously there's numerous reasons, and mental health can't be treated as a kind of, oh, you didn't have enough mother love. So I thought that was an important point as well.
Thank you.